Briefly tell us about yourself. What work do you do, and where are you from?
My name is Juliana Carroll, and I am a rising third-year rabbinical student at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, and I worked with Met Council this year in my capacity as a religious school teacher at Temple Shaarey Tefila on the Upper East Side.
How did you first hear about Met Council?
I took over a service learning curriculum from a student who experimented with this program last year, and Met Council was the first volunteer organization on the list. He urged me to contact you guys and basically said, whenever you want to be creative, go to Met Council. They will come up with 1,000 ideas for ways to get your students involved throughout New York City. That's how I found it.
What volunteer activities have you done at Met Council?
We had the opportunity and privilege to work 3 times with Met Council this year. We started out at the food rescue site on the Lower East Side, and then in January the kids came here and worked organizing the clothing closet, which I know was a lot of fun for them. And our final project of the year was working in Borough Park at the Passover food distribution, which was a really meaningful experience and allowed us to really see the other parts of Met Council's work with the domestic violence work that they do and also the food pantry. So that was certainly the most meaningful project for the students.
Why do you feel volunteering is important?
For a number of reasons. I think it's really important when you live in a large community to make sure that a certain number of hours in your week are allocated towards giving back when you're privileged to live in a place like New York City that affords every resource to you. But for the students that I work with, it's really an interesting opportunity for them as rising high school students about to go to college and thinking about how they want to live their lives to survey all the various opportunities that there are to get involved and to volunteer. So we really think about it as offering them a buffet of ways to experiment with getting involved and helping out and seeing what really jives with them. And then when they move upwards in their studies and towards college, they might know really what they want to get involved with because they had a chance to experiment with it when they were in high school and when they were part of their religious school environment. So it's really a controlled exposure to lots of different volunteer opportunities. And I think as a teacher, it's really nice to be able to offer such a variety, and Met Council helps us do that.
What are some of your experiences volunteering with Met Council?
I remember when we got to the food rescue site for the first time, and I was not at all what I expected. It was underground, and there was an old Ashkenazic Orthodox man that was there who didn't really know whether or not to greet us, but then when he saw that you were volunteers, he kind of ushered us down into this space, and we really saw just a room filled with food and with this great game that you had prepared. And it was just really nice for the students to, I think, come into a space where they weren't really comfortable knowing how to navigate, what their responsibilities were going to be. And the first thing that you did, Joey, was you gave us this really interesting game, teaching us all these statistics about the amount of food that Met Council is able to provide for those in need. And I think as soon as you are able to translate this for the students, what cleaning up a food rescue site could actually translate to in terms of the impact more broadly to the people who rely on that space, I think it made all of the work they did much more sacred, because they weren't just cleaning up or dusting off or organizing. They were preparing a place that really provided it addressed a critical need for the community. And without that, I think they really would have felt like, really, what are we doing here? Why is this meaningful? How does this connect to me Jewishly? And Met Council really provided that pathway to make it really clear, well, we do this because it's our obligation to welcome people into a nice space that's clean so that they can eat and feel honored, and it's also our responsibility to provide for those in need. And I think the students really needed a little time to warm up, and I remember feeling really grateful because I hadn't prepared anything, that you had this really fun kind of trivia game all set up for them. So I definitely remember that as being our first experience with Met Council and feeling really buoyed by that to do the remainder of our work together.
What has been the most rewarding part about being a volunteer?
The most rewarding part has been asking the students at the end of the day if they were happy that they had spent their day this way, and inevitably you hear that they had some competing priority that they were thinking about doing and skipping out on the project, but they were really happy that they showed up because they feel like rather than maybe hanging out with their friends and not being aware of all the ways that they could have given back, they've now spent the day building new relationships in their synagogue community, kind of feeling a little bit more Jewish than they normally do, and that kind of deepening that sense of identity, and also just not thinking about themselves and getting out of their really stressful day-to-day mindset. And I think it's so special for high school students who are constantly being bombarded with tests and expectations and all these priorities that are put on them in this very intense culture that we're raising them in now, to think about the fact that not thinking about themselves can can actually be a huge relief. And then to feel like that's a really great way to spend a Sunday afternoon, giving back to the community, getting outside of the self, thinking about the other, and really focusing away from whatever it is that's causing them stress. If we can start building those pathways so that in the future they kind of revert to that when they want to seek ways to relax or to just do something that's good for the soul, that for me is a very rewarding thing to see as a teacher, and I think for the synagogue community too. It helps us know that we're really raising good human beings.
If you would like to get involved with Met Council and our volunteer activities, please email us at volunteer@metcouncil.org to find out about what opportunities are available to you.